So the first question I'll direct toward Barbara. So Barbara, for DRATs in the rover you'll be testing with DRATs, the question specifically asks about two specific payloads, the alpha particle spectrometer and a neutron spectrometer, but I might broaden the question even more and just say, are there plans to incorporate science payloads in general? And if so, what are those plans?
Yeah, so we are planning to look at different volumes for payloads, but not specific payloads themselves. And I think really moving into the future, the specific payloads would be identified by the Artemis science team to direct us on what those volumes and actual instruments are. But we'll just be taking a generic look this year.
Thanks. The second question is for Julie. So the asker was curious what simulant you were using in the pictures that you showed in the with and without H2S, and if you have any thoughts about what might be causing the noted color difference there.
Yeah, so that was the USGS Lunar Highlands type regolith simulant, and it had been exposed to H2S. I'm actually not sure what that is. We do have an FTIR that I plan to get some spectra of these samples to see kind of a difference between what was exposed to H2S versus what was not. You can definitely see some reddening, and so that makes me think of certain compounds that it could be, but I don't want to guess. I want to, see if we can, first of all, replicate it. I want to expose some more of the regolith to that H2S and see if there's any, if we can actually be consistent in producing that red color, and then analyze that on our FTIR. So Doug, I'll definitely follow up with you on what we observe there, because I think it should be interesting.
Thanks, Julie. I have a question for Cindy and Trevor. Can you talk a little bit about kind of like where your topic areas meet? So Cindy mentioned phase 3 and even phase 2 with some of the like sort of bridge training between astronaut candidacy and flight assignments. And Trevor talked about, of course, all of the wonderful testing going on. So can one of you speak to kind of the crossover there? Is there any opportunity to develop crew training through the testing that Trevor mentioned?
Okay, I guess I'll start off, and we're sitting right next to each other, so we can hand off. There's definitely a continuum, and there's definitely feedback back and forth between the training and the testing. We take advantage of the proficiency testing or proficiency training to get crew members into the testing environments. So that's one way that we try to reinforce the training that we've already provided, but then put the crew members in more operational scenarios. Trevor, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I concur 100%. The two go hand in hand. Right now, we're concentrating a lot on the testing because of the hardware and the requirements and the gaps and risks that are still open, and really concentrating on the training for getting ready for assigned crew coming up. But eventually, those two things are going to come together. They already have, but even come together even more apparently. And so we're getting ready on both fronts for those things. And it's sometimes hard to detangle the two, right? Because a testing event can add a lot of value to the training aspects that are leaning forward into assigned crew getting ready and all of us getting ready for ours.
Yeah, and I think that some of the testing events, like it helps inform the training. It helps to iron out some of the logistical kinks so that we have smoother training flows. It helps to define how we're going to be doing things, doing training in a more integrated, increasingly sophisticated way. They build on each other.
Thanks, Flagstaff contingent. Barbara, anything to add from your perspective, just as the sort of mission director and manager of some big, really integrated NASA analog projects?
Just that, to reiterate what Cindy and Trevor already talked about, all these activities are dovetailed together and they really feed off of each other, and they're necessary at this stage in the planning. So,
thanks. And then I'll just ask one more question. That's kind of a variation of the question that we asked to Barbara first about instruments, and that's to Trevor. So in the testing that you mentioned, are there any plans to incorporate some of these sort of in situ science payloads that we heard about in an earlier session and that was asked about to Barbara for DRATs? Any plans on your end there?
Yeah, good question. So similar answer, like we're right now thinking about volumetric and mass. So when we're testing the suit or other capabilities to, a cart or something to move around, but we're really looking forward to this community and the calls that Sarah and folks talked about that are near term, putting some of that sharpening the point on some of that stuff, right? So getting some of these actual payloads, the weight, the mobility that's needed to deploy them, the dexterity that's needed to, turn them on and off or align them, all that type of stuff. We're looking for the community in the near term to start to define those things so we can get that into the testing queue and start to say what is possible and have that feedback loop actually close so that we can get back to the community and say, this is how best to design your hardware, or these are the type of instruments that are conducive for human ops. So yeah, we're right now kind of keeping it general, but looking for the community in the near term to define how to start to specify something.
That seems like a perfect topic of discussion for the June LSSW workshop. So we might be circling back around to you guys for that. So thanks very much to all of our speakers for the talks and for fielding all those questions. And that kind of concludes our talk agenda for today. So to kind of give us some concluding remarks on the day, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Noble. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kelsey. And I just want to take a minute to thank all of our speakers today. I mean, I don't know, personally, I felt it was really great to see all of the progress that we've made. Sometimes you're down in the trenches and you don't necessarily know, but it's nice to see all the progress that we as a community have made over the last year. I hope that the community enjoyed this too. I also want to thank you for showing up, for continuing to show up to these LSSW meetings. It's very important for us to be able to continue a conversation with the community. We really value your input, and this is one of the best ways that we have to get it. So I do want to encourage you to continue. And to that end, I would like to remind you that we actually have 2 LSSWs coming up next month. There's one on the 16th on modern geology tools and how we can best use the astronauts that we're going to have on the surface. And there's one at the end of the month on ISRU, and the abstract call for that is open now. So please do participate in those. And we look forward to seeing you at our next meeting. Is Jake on? Jake, do you want to say anything? Maybe Jake has already abandoned us for the day. All right.
Sorry,
Well, then
I'm here, just really low. Yeah, I want to just echo your words there. Again, we really appreciate everybody participating in these lunar surface science workshops. They really are an important way for us to gather community input as we think about moving forward, developing the architecture, and really generating opportunities for the community. So please continue to support moving forward. We need your help. And yeah, great presentations today by everybody involved. Thank you.
and with that, we'll sign off. Thanks all.